weekly time frame. Looks like we now have a doji around that resistance area. Could that mean the price is going to sell off? Only time will tell. But if price sells off, this area will be my target area. All right, the 194.840 and 193.85. all right, why is that area my target? Simple market structure. Price is bearish around here, creating lows, lower highs, lower low, equal highs, then came down here before creating a new higher high. So if price continues lower, I want to see if price come into my first buy area before we take off again. Welcome back, guys. You can see how price is selling off already into our target. We are this close to the target. All right, and this is a testament that the dodgy candlestick strategy that I taught months ago is still working out fine. All right, so going into next week, what do we expect? I still expect a continuous drop, first of all into 194.818 and 193.861 area, and then if price comes here using simple market structure, right, because we are bearish from here, right, then we had a new higher high here, so I'm expecting a pullback into here before we continue higher, right? So that's what I would like to see. But if price breaks below 193.861, that means we will most likely continue trading all the way to the downside into 184.818. But let's take it one step at a time. How do we take advantage into this weekly support level here? Let's go all the way down to the 4-hour time frame. So on the 4-hour time frame, using simple market structure, you can see, yes, here we ranged and ranged and ranged and ranged and ranged and ranged until we created a new lower low, right? So where will I be expecting to see the pullback come into? I'll be expecting to see the pullback come into all of these areas. All right, that will be my first sell area, and this weekly resistance above here will remain my second sell area. So what am I talking about? Let me put a zone around that area. So if price fails to continue straight down going into next week and price decides to give us a pullback, I would like to see a deeper pullback into this area, all right, of 197.986 and 197.547 before we sell into the target I talked about from the weekly time frame, which is 194.818. all right, but when the pullback is happening, guys, I still want you to keep an eye on this area also. All right, this area price may just pull back into this area of 196.954 and then sell off. All right, so don't take your eyes off that area. So all of these areas are my sell areas. I don't have any buy scenario for this week, so I'm just a seller. So if price goes up, of course, if price is going back up, we have strategies within the Let's Trade mentorship program that we can use to take advantage of that. But for analysis purposes only, these are where I would like to sell from. Now that is that on GBP JPY. The next on my list is USD JPY. Now if price next week breaks above 147.435, that means we must have created a new higher high. That means this impulsive move that has been playing out is not fooling around. All right, so we must have gotten a new higher high, then we'll wait for a pullback, our stop loss below 147.585, then our bullish target is all the way up here, 149.614. Welcome back, guys. You can see how price went on to create a new higher high on USD JPY and then came back for that pullback into 147.935 and 147.585 area, as you can see here, then gave us an entry, then price traded into the target of 149.614, just as analyzed last week. All right, so going into next week, what do we expect? Let's first of all start from the monthly time frame. By the way, happy new month, traders. I wish all of us a successful trading month of August. All right, let's get back to the analysis. So you can see how we closed with a solid bullish candlestick last month. I will still expect that momentum to continue, even though for the first day of this month, which is Friday, the 1st of August, we can see some bearish price action. But where are we where am I going to be looking for that buying continuation? Let's go to the weekly time frame. On the weekly time frame, meanwhile, I'm going to delete this zone, or I will just leave the zone. All right, I would explain what all these zones mean. So if price continues lower, I want to see price come into the 146.143 area before we continue bullish. And this is what I mean. Using simple market structure from top to bottom, we were bearish, right? Creating lower lows and lower highs, new lower low, lower high, double bottom, that's equal low, and then price went on to create a new higher high. All right, so if we continue pushing to the downside, I mean, we've seen 2 consecutive weekly bearish candlesticks because I'm on the weekly time frame. So if price continues lower, I'm expecting to see price come into my first buy area, and that buy area happens to be 146.143. all right, so before price continues bullish, that's what I would like to see, because on this weekly time frame there is a change in market structure already, right, from bearish to bullish. So I'm anticipating a pullback into 146.143 before we buy off again. But let's break things down on a much lower time frame. If we go to the daily time frame, we can see the massive bearish engulfing candlestick from last week, right? One huge massive bearish engulfing candle that took out all the bullish price action for the whole of last week. That's crazy, right? But if this bearish price action continues, we know where we are selling into. Now let's go to the 4-hour time frame. Now I will delete all of these zones. So going into next week, with this impulsive bearish move to the downside, what will I like to see? Hopefully we get a pullback into this area here. So I'd like to see a pullback into the areas of 149.066 and 148.627. I would like to see a pullback into there before we continue our bearish push to the downside. And our bearish target is 146.143 and 145.729. Those are my bearish targets. For this week, I don't have any bullish scenario. I think the only bullish scenario will be when price comes into our target below here, or if price breaks back above 149.614. all right, so for this week I'm mostly bearish. I want to see price pull back into this area and then sell to the downside. Now that is that on USDJPY. The next on my list is gold. Price pull back into this 3,368.141 and 3,359.460 area, then want to look for a possible short position from there into 3,264.176. Welcome back, guys. You can see how gold came super close to our target of 3,264.176 before taking off. So going into next week, first of all, let's look at how we closed for the month. All right, last month was bearish. Let's look at the weekly time frame. So this week, or last week, closed with a super bullish engulfing candle. Daily time frame, let's see what's happening. Daily time frame, we're at a daily resistance that has been tested multiple times historically, around here, and now we are back there. So going into next week on gold, I am more bullish than bearish, but let's see. Let's go to the 4-hour time frame, and then I'll give my bullish scenario. So price is in a bullish impulsive move from this bottom to the top here. So I would like to see a mini pullback around this area. All right, I have 2 buy areas today. So the second buy area will be around here. All right, so I'll be looking to buy around these 2 areas depending on where I get my confirmation. All right, so the first buy area will be around 3,333.189 and 3,324.319 before we continue to the upside. All right, that's my first scenario. The second scenario, the second buy area rather, will be for price to pull back into 3,314.971 and 3,309.697 before we continue a bullish move. So these are the two areas I'm looking for buys on gold. For sells, guys, for sells, price has to give us a change in market structure from bullish to bearish, somewhere around where price is trading at right now, before I'll be confident to sell. Or this week, if price is bearish, I'll just use the other strategies on the mentorship programs to take the bearish move. All right, but for analysis purposes, this is what I am looking at, because why it is important you have our mentorship program is you don't just analyze, you know how and when to execute your trades. Very, very important, because analysis is one thing, execution is another thing. I may come on this weekly analysis and say, hey, I am buying gold, and then during the week I am actually selling because I'm executing using a set of rules, a system. All right, so yes, that is that on gold. The next on the list is GBP USD. Price is to go bearish, you have to be patient. All right, I mean, there's a 277 potential move down. Just wait for price to break below 1.33843. You want to catch it on the pullback, stop loss above 1.34148. Then you want to trade all the way to the downside. Welcome back, guys. So you can see how GBP USD broke below 1.33843, went back for a good pullback and sold to the downside massively. It actually didn't come into our target, but let's break it down for this week again, right? It's a new month. Let's look at how we closed for last month. Last month we closed with a solid bearish engulfing candlestick. This is a monthly candle, solid bearish price action. If we go to the weekly time frame, you can see that price is bouncing off an area of resistance. All right, and it broke below this weekly mini support area. Also, we closed here for last week. If we go to the daily time frame, you will see daily price action, right? Simple, sweet market structures. A low, a lower high, a new lower low, and on Friday we saw a bullish engulfing candle. So that will mean what? Price is trying to pull back into our first sell area and typical market structure, and then we'll continue selling to the downside into the areas of 1.31060 and 1.30408. All right, so that's what I would like to see on GBP USD going into next week. Let's go to the 4-hour time frame. So on the 4-hour time frame, you need to look at these areas of 1.34148 and 1.33843 area for sells. All right, but while we are looking at that, don't also ignore where price is at the moment. Price may come here and sell off. See, in one analysis, I really don't know what to say, right? But I just recommend you take our mentorship program because it's really going to help you with this analysis. All right, so that's on the side. Well, before I continue, our next mentorship program was supposed to start tomorrow, the 4th of August, but in our DMs we are having a lot of requests that we should extend it by a week. I mean, some people have some things to clear off their schedule, while some are saying that's when they will be able to make payments. All right, so because of that, my team and I has agreed to move it up by 1 week, and that will be the 11th of August. So we are moving it from the 4th of August to the 11th of August. So do yourself a favor and enroll now, because we are not extending it again. All right, so that said, let's go back to the analysis. So my bearish target on GBP USD going into next week remains 1.31057. However, if price for whatever crazy reasons decides to blast above 1.34148 area next week, then I'll catch it on the pullback and trade into this bullish target of 1.35590. All right, so that is that on GBP USD. The last for this week is EURUSD. So to sell, since that zone is a higher time frame resistance zone, I will recommend that you put a zone around here. So wait for price to break below the 1.17177 area, catch it on the pullback, stop loss above 1.17250. Then you want to trade into this initial target. If price continues lower, then we want to see it come into the other target that I talked about earlier. All right, so those are my two bearish targets. Welcome back, guys. You can see how Euro USD made its way into 1.15233 last week. All right, so our sell was on point. Now going into next week, what do we expect? Right, let's start from the monthly time frame. Price is bouncing off this monthly trend line on the monthly time frame. That's a solid trend line area, right? And we close with a good bearish price action. Though Friday, due to NFP, price started looking like it's going back up. But I'll still be expecting a bearish month on Euro USD this month. On the weekly time frame, we see that we are still struggling to break below 1.14497. If that happens, if we eventually break below that price area, my next target is 1.11336. All right, but let's go on with the analysis. Going into next week, what do I expect? I'll go to the daily time frame. You can see daily price action looks like price has made its way to our ideal pullback area, which is around here. So now this is where I myself is a little bit confused, I'll be honest with you, because price may just sell from where it is right now, or still decides to go and compensate for this Friday's bullish price action. But anyways, let's break it down. Let's look at different scenarios. Let's go to the 4-hour time frame. All right, so to play it safe, let me go with a conservative approach. To play it safe, right? If price is going to buy, then I will recommend you wait for price to break above 1.16302, right? When that happens, you want to catch it on the pullback. Stop loss below 1.15937. Then bullish target is here, 1.17177, and that's where I'll be expecting price to sell from again. All right, but if price sells off from where it is right now, I would have said you should try to sell from here, but I don't want to mislead you guys. We on the Let's Trade mentorship program, we know how to get in if price is going to fall off from here. But for analysis purposes only, I would recommend you wait for price to break back down below this area of 1.14497. All right, let it clear this weekly support area. All right, so when that happens, you want to wait for a pullback into that area and your stop loss above whatever swing point you have within that area. And then our next sell target is all the way down, massive move to the downside of 1.11336. So thanks for staying to the end of this program. Once again, if you want to take your trading to the next level, you know what to do. We've extended the kickoff date of our mentorship program, and we only have about how many? 5, 7. All right, we only have about 7 spots left. All right, so if you want to participate, if you want to be a participant of the next program, we have only 7 spots left. Do yourself a favor and book your spot earlier. I wish you a successful trading week, and I'm going to see you in the next video. Bye, guys.